In the last video, we looked at absolute value equalities. In this video, we're going to be looking at inequalities, and I'm going to show you how you can do the inequality on your calculator. So just like in the last problem, you put it in Y1 and Y2. We can do that. We can also, I'm going to show you actually two ways. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to Y1. And so I'm going to enter in the equation exactly how I see it. I'm going to put in 2, then I'm going to go to math, number, absolute value, x plus 5, and go outside my absolute value. So last time what we did was we put the 8 down here, and we can still do that. But right now I'm going to do it a little differently. I'm going to put a less than or equal to 8. So I'm going to go back again to where my test is. So I'm going to do second test, and then I want less than or equal to, which is number 6 on my calculator, and then I'm going to put in the number 8. Now I can go ahead and graph that. And notice what it's doing. It's graphing the value. Remember, 1 means yes and 0 means no. So on my calculator, you can see there's a blue line on the x-axis. Those are values that x does not equal. And because if the line were just on the x-axis, it would be hard to see. So my answer is right here. So we can see, I'm just going to go ahead and push the trace button. And when I get on that point, notice it's negative 1.060606, which is essentially negative 1. And it continues all the way to, okay, so that drops down at negative 9. So it goes from negative 9, every number from negative 9 to negative 1 is going to make this equation valid. Okay, so just remember what I did. Notice how that's in between, like that. So I'm going to write my answer as negative 9 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 1. So it's all negative 1. It's all numbers in between those two numbers. The other thing I can do to get my answer is I can go to my table. So I'm going to do second table. So remember what I said, that zeros are all no's. So I'm going to go ahead, there's a faster way for me to scroll. So I guess I might as well just show you instead of scrolling through everything. I'm going to go to window, wrong button. I'm going to go to second window. There we go. Notice it's saying it wants to start at 24. Let's start at 0. And then it says it's going to change my table every 100ths. So I don't want it every 100ths. I want it to be 1. Your calculator may not have that problem. Sometimes when you do different things, it changes your table, so it's good to know how to get that back. Okay, so we're going to go to second table, and look, so now my numbers are how I want them. But remember, 0 means no, and 1 means yes. So at negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6, negative 7, negative 8, negative 9, all those numbers and numbers in between satisfy this equation. Okay, so I'm going to show you one more way that you can do this. Let's go back to our y equals. So we're going to use two equations. So I'm going to delete this less than 8, and I'm going to put 8 in my y2. Now, when we graph it, we're going to see that we get, like we've done before, where we get an intersection. But the problem with this is that our answer isn't just this one point, and it isn't just that one point there. Remember, our absolute value has to be less than 8. Well, 8 is everything right here, so everything less than 8 would be 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, negative 1, 8. So everything down here, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you can get this to highlight in your calculator. So go back to y equals, go down to your equation y2 equals 8, and I call this the little flappy thing, because in the older calculator, that bar, when you come over here, kind of flaps up and down. So I want to change that. My calculator is a little different. Mine's actually a little harder to deal with. So I'm going to change that little flappy thing so that it's less than. So if you imagine that this is a square, the bottom part of the square is being shaded. So the bottom part would be the less than part. So I'm going to say, okay, that's what I want. So you want it so that you get the bottom part of the square shaded. The other side would be the top part. Okay, so watch what happens when I graph it. So there's my absolute value, and then there's my y equals 8 is going to come in, and it comes in shaded. Okay. So the part of the V that is shaded, this is kind of like what we did in class. The part of the V that is shaded is all right through here. Okay? This part right through here is all shaded. Which means my x value comes down to there. So my x value is going to be everything that if that shaded part were creating a shadow, it's going to be everything right there, right? So so that would be where my answers are. So I would know that I would get the intersection of this point. Let's go ahead and do that. So if I go second trace intersection, which is 5, and it's asking me for first curve, can't even see where it is, so I'm going to bring it down. Let's do this part over here. First curve. I'm going to push enter. Second curve, enter, enter. So it gives me at -9, right? And so let's think about that. As I move my cursor to get my second, let's go to this point over here. So that means I'm going to want my cursor to be on the other side. So let's do second, trace, intersection. So I'm going to move my cursor. So just think about this. My values of x's. Look at my values of x's. Those are all bigger than 9, aren't they? -7, -6. Those are all values that are bigger than 9. Right? -3 is bigger than 9. Okay. So I'm going to get really close to my intersection. I'm going to push enter. Second curve, enter. Guess, enter, and then it tells me -1. So because I want this area in here, because notice up above it's not highlighted in the red, is it? It's just this part right here is what's being highlighted. So I want everything between -9 and -1. So that's another way of getting your answer.